retail location and uh, retail location and retail store layout, atmospherics, and visual merchandising. Now, I will share the screen. Yeah, I hope the screen is visible to you all. Now let us try to understand as part of retail strategy. In the last class, we discussed about the basics of retail strategy, and then we discussed about the HR part of the retail strategy. Now let us start with the retail financial strategy, what aspects and how we are looking at the profitability or the retailers' financial uh, objectives or the financial goals, whether or financial challenges, however we think about them, and whether the retailer is able to acquire it, is able to really meet those challenges, is the retailer is able to meet those goals. Now, here we are going to discuss about, as I told you, the objectives and goals of the retail strategy. And as part of this, now we have to look at the financial objectives. And we look at the financial objectives, we are not only looking at the performance of the retailer in terms of sales, we are also looking at the ROI, that is return on investment for the retailer, and also profits as far as the retailer is concerned, and how much he is able to cross over the previous year sales. Then the retailer also works for social objectives, which include trying to get the required specialized merchandise to the areas. Especially this is important, when we are looking at the rural suburban areas, where because of geographical location and other reasons, it becomes difficult for those people to have all these facilities. So retailers are very important over there to improve the standard of life and to see to it that the retailer gets proper what we call uh, uh, all types of merchandise to the availability of the people. Now, in addition, the retailer also looks at the overall improvement in the standard of living of the people by bringing in not only the merchandise but also the specialized services like free home delivery and delivering products at the time the customer is in need of the product, not at the time uh, not at the time when the product is available. Now, in addition, being most of our retail sector in the unorganized sector, many individual standalone retailers have their personal objectives like self gratification, status symbol. It's a self respect symbol that they have got, such good retail outlets, and they are doing some service to the society in general and their customers in particular. Even the national chains or the organized retailers also, uh, because retailing is one of the basic necessities, and it next to agriculture, it consumes or it caters to the employment, the maximum employment of the as a maximum employment provider, they have got these personal objectives. Then let us look at the strategic profit model. The strategic profit model talks about how the retailers are looking at the asset management and the profit management. These form the components of the strategic profit model. In strategic profit model, return on assets is considered. Here in this model, first the retailer is supposed to look at the net profit after taxes. When the retailer divides that net profit after taxes by net sales, the retailer is getting net profit margin. Let me use a highlighter. And looking at the asset management, the retailer has to divide net sales by total assets, where we get the asset turnover. So net profit margin, when multiplied by asset turnover, a retailer will be able to calculate the return on assets. So the retailer will look at whether the operating profit margins they are able to get, because in the first case, if the net profit margin is positive, then we call that they are getting operating profit margin. Then look at the asset turnover. And the strategic profit model looks at ROA, return on assets, rather than on return on investment, and then looks at how operating profit margin percentage and what is the asset turnover, and tries to assess what is the profitability of the retailer and what is the performance of that retailer. There is another approach to understand the performance of the retailer, that is profit margin management path. In this particular approach, the components that are looked at are the four components are net sales, cost of goods sold, because inventory forms a very large portion of the liquid assets as far as the retailer is concerned. Then one has to look at the gross margin and also look at the operating profit margin. So when we are looking at net sales and cost of goods sold, we are trying to get the gross margin, and gross margin versus operating expenses, we get net operating profits before tax. So based upon how we are we are getting these figures, the profitability of the retailer, and hence the performance of the retailer is assessed. See, these have to be positive, but depending upon the objectives and the goals set by the retailer will have, how much gross margin he has budgeted or he is expecting, and what should be his operating margin, and did he achieve whatever the projected margins were. Now, how do we analyze the performance on the profit management part? This is how we are going to analyze it. Now let us look at the asset management. Assets are both, there are fixed assets and there are liquid assets. Now, when we are looking at, long-term assets, that is assets which are liquefied over the 1 year, and there could be some assets which gets liquefied within a span time of 1 year. Now, when we are looking at these things, that is current assets and fixed assets, as I told you, fixed assets, we will be able to liquefy them only beyond 1 year. Within 1 year, one cannot liquefy these fixed assets because of the immovable nature of them, while current assets are those assets which can be liquefied within 1 year. For example, inventory. The retailer will be able to sell his merchandise and he can generate cash from that particular merchandise. So current asset example is the merchandise that is carried by the retailer. Fixed assets example could be the building or any other type of immovable asset, immovable physical thing that is carried by that particular retailer. Now, there are different assets like accounts receivables will be there in the hands of the retailer. It could be the stock that is given on credit or the stock that is sold on credit by the retailer. Then there is merchandise inventory, that is the merchandise that is still unsold and carried by the retailer in his warehouse or in the shop on the shelf. Then there could be cash on hand, and there could be other current assets. So these four variables together are considered as total current assets. Then we add the fixed assets so that we calculate the net sales, and we see compare it with that of the total sales, and then we will be able to conclude what is the asset turnover. As we are able to see, current assets are cash plus accounts receivable plus merchandise inventory, while and added other current assets. Now, just now I told you, I explained already what are these when we are considering retailer in particular. Now, let us see what is asset turnover. So we have net sales divided by total assets, which we get as the asset turnover. So we can calculate the inventory turnover by cost of goods sold divided by average inventory cost, which gives us as inventory turnover. There could be intangible assets that can be considered by the retailer. So intangible assets include the brand name, the goodwill of the retailer, the knowledge and the performance of the employees that are employed with that particular retailer, the customer loyalty that retailer has gained over the years because of his loyal service to the customers, and the type of merchandise, the depth of the assortment that the retailer is carrying, because they could be the specific merchandise that are not available in the other shops, and also the information that is carried by the retailer, the demonstration of the use of the product that is done by the retailer, and other types of services that are intangible and provided by the retailer. Now, let us look at how do we analyze the financial strength as far as the retailer is considered. Now, any retailer's financial strength can be considered by calculating various financial ratios. And these financial ratios also help the retailer to reveal how successfully the retail company is able to maintain the inventory or sell the inventory, the retailer's pricing structure. I'm not going in depth about the calculations and others, because that will be covered in the finance part, finance elective. Now, it is enough if we understand that these are the techniques that will be used by the retailers to understand the performance of the of that particular retailer, and also the profitability of that retailer. Now, uh, to understand the financial strength of the retail store, a retail store can take up the techniques like cash flow analysis, debt to equity ratio analysis, quick ratios, and current ratio analysis. Based upon these analysis, one can decide whether the retailer is in a safe financial position, or he has to improve. Now, uh, the if the debt equity ratio is around 40 to 50%, then the retailer will be facing a significant financial problems or a financial risk. Debt equity ratio talks about the short and long term debt divided by the value of the owners or stakeholders equity, that is stockholders equity. Then comes the current ratio. uh, so to understand the current ratio, short-term assets are always divided by the short-term liabilities, and current ratio talks about the present financial strength of the company. Now, quick ratio, which is always called as the acid test ratio also, uh, is more stringent. I mean to say, more than the current ratio, quick ratio, reveals the financial strength of a company in more better way, uh, because short-term asset, which is inventory, is not, that takes the longest to convert into a cash, is not considered here. So if a retailer needs cash to pay its short-term liabilities, it cannot rely on inventory. It has to rely on accounts receivables and the cash on hand. So a current ratio considers the inventory on hand. In quick ratio, we do not consider inventory on hand. Now, to understand or to assess the performance of the uh, retailer, the retailer can look at various approaches. So to plan, and that means to set budgets or to set forecasts for the future year or the future coming quarter or the future month. One can, assess the performance, or one can set the goals based on these approaches. Either a top-down approach can be followed by the retailer, or a bottom-up approach can be followed. Both have their own plus and minuses, positives and negatives. In top-down approach, it is the management of the retail store or the retail chain are going to give targets to various retail stores that are spread geographically, and also with regard to various merchandise that are carried by the retailer to the, and even they give the targets to their employees. The main uh, problem with this approach is the management could be very, very enthusiastic, and they may give such high targets where it is difficult for the employees to achieve those targets, and they may get demotivated. One advantage is, uh, because the target is high, definitely the employees and stores will always work towards achieving those targets, and they may perform better than their average performance. Now, in bottom-up planning, it is the stores, it is first the employees working in the stores which give their projected sales for the next quarter or for the next year, which are added and into a store total. And like that, many stores in a particular area give their projections, and that will be added, and an area sales projection comes. Like that, various areas can be added, and a geographical region or a zonal sales figures can be approached. The main problem in this bottom up plan is, because it is the employee who has to achieve his target, there is always a possibility that the employee will put his target a little lesser than actually what he or she can achieve. But else, because it is the target set by themselves, employees and stores may show more commitment towards achieving those targets when compared to the top-down approach. Now, let us look at the performance objectives and measures. The measures used to evaluate retail operations may vary. They may vary depending on the level of the organization at which the decision is made, the resources the manager controls. Okay, in the sense, uh, the performance can be, the management may give in terms of monetary targets, while the employees may look at these targets in terms of unit sales. And the manager may have or may not have the required resources in terms of the merchandise carried in the outlet, in terms of the store, the type of store format that they want, in terms of square, retail, real estate area. The manager may want a larger store, while that may not be possible in that particular area, and others. Now, now let us look at the corporate performance. At a corporate level, retail executives have, three variables or three elements or three components. One is the merchandise inventory that they are carrying in their retail outlet, the store space that the retail store has got, and the employees that they can manage. And thus, the productivity ultimately is limited based on these things. Because in a store, whatever the space is there, in that space, the merchandise is carried. And the employees who are working in that particular store will be able to sell only those merchandise. So the store carpet area, the number of shelves, the merchandise carried by the retail outlet, and the number of employees working in that particular store will decide the final productivity of that particular store. Now, when we look at the corporate, we are talking about the productivity, output, performance, or the productivity in terms of return on assets or asset turnover, and sales per employee and sales per square foot. So this is how these are the variables based on which the corporate performance is assessed. When it comes to the merchandise management, that is when we are talking about the merchandise performance, we will be looking at gross margin return on investment. That is one approach. One can calculate GM ROI, or inventory turnover ratio can be calculated, or we can look at advertising as a percentage of sales, or mark down as a percentage of sales. That is advertising expenditure versus sales, or whatever the sales promotional expenditure that is incurred versus sales. Then, when it comes to the variable of store operations, the approaches that a retailer follows could be net sales per square foot. For example, if the store is having a carpet area of 1,000 square feet, definitely, and if the net sales are 1 lakh, so you can divide 1 lakh by 1,000 square feet, which gives you around 100. So that is what is net sales per square foot. Then we have got net sales per sales associate, or net sales per selling hour. That is in our, what are the sales? Utility expenses as a percentage of sales, or inventory shrinkage. That is the inventory lost. These all also can be considered to understand the performance of that particular store. Now, How are we trying to assess the performances? The financial measures used to assess performance reflect the retailer's market strategy. So always it is better that the retailer performance is compared or has a benchmark. So it has to be compared. Benchmark means we try to compare our performance with the best in the class or with the best in the market. In the same way, the retailer's benchmarks could be two. They are the performance of the retailer over time. So they can compare their performance with the previous years and then assess whether this year performance is better than the previous year or not. And secondly, the performance of the retailer can definitely be compared with that of their competitors. So whether the performance of the retailer is better than their competitors, whether the retailer is able to sell more than the competitor, or he's in terms of number of footfalls, in terms of sales, in terms of revenue generated, in terms of expenditure versus the revenue generated with the competitor also, the performance can be compared and a reasonable assessment can be done whether the retailer is making money or he is losing money over the time. This is about the retail financial strategy. Then we will look at the retail location strategy. I am stopping the share, friends. Now, when we are looking at the retail location strategy, we have to consider few things. The first being location. What are the basis for location? What are the various options for location? And also, we have to look at uh, certain other aspects, like is it located in the urban area, rural area, suburban areas, or is our store located in a mall, or is our store located in a market center in that particular area, or is our store located as a freehand location. That is, our store is unique of its merchandise in that particular area. Other stores are not similar to the in terms of merchandise sold compared to our store. That means our store sells different merchandise when compared to the other stores or other shops that are located in the vicinity. Then we have to understand this from the store design perspective also. And also we have to understand from the store layout perspective. What type of a store layout is adopted in that particular retail outlet. Store layout also looks at the visual merchandise and the assortment that is carried within that particular store. So we will look at all these aspects when we are trying to understand the retail location strategy. Now I am trying to share the screen. I hope the screen is visible. Now, I have taken this entire concept from the Levy and Wheats book written by Levy and Wheats. The title is Retailing Management. Now, let us look at the store design. So, the store design looks at how the store is from the inside and from the outside. That is, how are the interiors of the store and how are the exteriors of the store. So any retail strategy regarding store design should look at whether the design meets the expectations and needs of the target market, whether that store design is able to build a sustainable competitive advantage, and how are the displays in that particular store, and what kind of image is created in that particular store. Why? Because store design is important to decide where should our retail store be located. Now, store design provides two different types of benefits. One is the utilitarian benefits, that is how the store design enables the customers to enter that particular store, venture out into that particular store, enjoy the concept of shopping in that particular store and purchase, and other hedonic benefits. Now, store design should motivate the customers to increase sales, that is, to buy more. That is, store design should directly or indirectly, uh, increase what we call uh, the impulse purchases of the customers. Now, one second, let me once stop the share. Yeah, let me share the screen. Yes. Now let us look at the important elements of any store design, or store design uh, is dependent on three things. The first one is the building architecture. First one, I should say, the location of the store. The second one is the store theme. That is, what is the merchandise mix that is carried by the store and who are the target customers. Because a grocery store cannot be same as that of a jewelry store, which cannot be same as that of an electronics goods store, and and that cannot be same for a store that is carrying paints or something else. Okay. At the same time, building architecture, that is, how is the display, what is the health and safety that is looked at inside. Because when a store carries very fragile items, let it be lightings, let it be things like that, it is very important. And also when a store carries lot of electronic gadgets, and when a store carries lot of high tech items, definitely the safety aspects and the health aspects have to be looked into, and the frontal entrance. So first, let us look at the store location. Now, when we are talking about a store location, we are talking about uh, where the physical location of the store is. There are advantages and disadvantages depending upon where the store is located. So, store location influences the success of any retail store by impacting visibility, customer, what you call access, cost, sales. It also, to identify a store location site, involves analysis of demographics, traffic, competition, and infrastructure. The key location types range from high traffic malls and high streets to convenient neighborhood centers, while strategic factors include demographic alignment, that is, what is the catchment area and what is the demographics or statistics of the population living in that particular area, what are the requirements and expectations of the neighborhood, then accessibility of that particular store in terms of parking, in terms of transport, especially if your store location is in a city. So which side of the road is your store located also makes a difference, because if the customer is on the other side and the store is located in the opposite side, might be it is very difficult for the customer to take a U-turn and come to the store. Then competitor proximity, especially in the urban areas, we are seeing a particular approach or a particular strategy where all similar merchandise stores. That is, if we have a jewelry shop, if Tanishq is there, you see Malabar Gold, you see Khajana, you see Joy Alucas, you see other shops, located side by side in one particular locality. In one center, if there is RS Brothers, there are other shops, located besides, like CMR, South India Shopping Mall, all those are located in and around that visibility. So competitors' proximity is very important. The cost, basically real estate is very costly. So either the cost of acquiring the property or the cost of renting that particular property, local regulations, because fire safety measures will be different based upon whether your store is located in the urban areas, in the metro areas, or tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 cities, or a town, or in a remote village. So, and all these are very crucial for attracting the targeted customers. Now, so in a more crisp way, the types of retail locations include high street, that is main street, that is it could be busy central roads which have got high visibility, and a lot of footfalls will be there because of floating population. They may not be residents of that particular area, because they are busy central roads, there will be lot of footfall. Then we have shopping centers and shopping malls. There will be diverse stores in these areas. We can expect a large customer base, and it is a planned environment, because when we are talking about a shopping mall, they're very clear which floor has got which type of merchandise selling stores. Eateries will be on one store, clothes and all, textiles on one store, electronic gadgets on one floor, then other accessories that men and women wear could be on one floor. Then like national chains like Smart Bazaar and others could be on one particular floor. So it's a very planned environment. Then we could have places like retail parks where lot of shopping, stores are available for rent. Either it is rented by the private individuals or it is given on rent by the government also. Like we have Next Galleria, which is owned by the L&T. Because of Metro, they have created those shopping malls, and from Metro, they have given the access to the shopping mall also. Then these retail parks provide standalone units. There will be ample parking, and there is a possibility to have a very, very large store within these retail parks. Then we have got neighborhood centers. These provide convenience stores, because local convenience is possible, and the merchandise carried in such stores will be of the merchandise that are necessary by the customers on a regular day-to-day basis, and they caters to the requirements of the residents. Then we could talk about freestanding sites, isolated locations, where often for specific needs or high visibility. For example, uh, you can take metro and all, where it wants a very, very large place. So towards the corners of the city, they have opened their stores, and they have opened in the format of cash and carry, where you need a business card to visit them. IKEA is there. IKEA is a standalone large store which sells furniture and other types of, house up necessities, or you can call household furnishings also. Then we could talk about pop-ups. They are temporary. They are great for testing markets or events. Then what are the key factors for deciding on the location? First one is demographics in terms of age, deviation in that area, income, lifestyle of the population in that particular area. Traffic and accessibility decide the number of footfalls. Nowadays, parking also decides the number of footfalls. Then competition, cost, that is the cost of acquiring the real estate. Then infrastructure and market potential. The location selection process has got 4 steps. First one is identify the target market. Then the company is supposed to do the market analysis, that is environment analysis. The retailer is supposed to understand the potential demand and the competition in that area. Then look at the tariffs and other types of taxes that are collected by the government in that particular area. Then go for more micro level, that is go for the site evaluation. So assess specific sites based on factors like traffic, accessibility, and cost of real estate. Finally, availability of employees is also very important. Knowledgeable and skilled employees is more important. And finally, choose the best site that aligns with the business goals of the retailers. Why location matters is a poor location can really make business a poor performing business, while a great location may drive the business to success. The location influences where customers shop and buy. Location decisions are often costly because the cost of, opening that particular outlet could be very, very costly. The interiors are costly and the like. Now, as we have discussed store location, now let us look at the other elements of the store design, that is layout, signage and graphics, feature area. First, let us look at what is store layout. Store layout is an arrangement of the store that include space management, product display, network of passages, arrangement for amenities, customer convenience, and other required facilities. Basically, store layout talks about how the shelves are arranged in a particular store so that various merchandise can be neatly arranged or displayed on those shelves, and movement of the customers from one area to the other area will be very, very smooth in that particular store. Further, the layout is important to encourage customer exploration and help customers move through the stores. So there are 3 different types of store layouts. They are grid, racetrack, and free form layouts. Now, when we look at the grid layout, you can look on the right side of me, the figure, like all shelves are arranged as compartments where it is very easy for the customers to locate, and also hanging boards that talk about what merchandise you can find in that particular part will also be very, very easy. But this type of layout will take more space. It will occupy more space. At the same time, it allows more merchandise to be displayed. It is cost efficient, and mostly it is used for groceries and other type of convenience stores, because it cannot generate a particular environment which can create a feeling of ethnicity or a feeling of affluence. It is for regular purchases. Then we have a racetrack layout. It is like this. A racetrack layout is a loop where we have got various, sections uh, which displays different types of products or different type categories of merchandise. And this will support the customers to move around the store, and it provides different angles of viewership to the potential customers, and it motivates lot of impulse buying. So it can be used in those large stores, which we call them as hypermarkets or departmental stores, where you could find various categories of products displayed. That is, you have groceries, you have hosiery, you have textiles, you have kitchen appliances, you have furnishings, you have eateries. Everything is there. Men and women clothing differently displayed. Okay, so all these things are available over there. So such type of stores, racetrack layout is more comfortable. Then we have a free form or a boutique type of layout. This type of layout consumes the maximum area, and most of the products are arranged in fixtures and aisles. So it provides a very, very cozy, very relaxed environment. It gives a affluent feeling, when such a boutique or free form type of layout is used. It is used more in specialized stores where the stores wants to display products, which go with the lifestyle, or which is, which people buy after lot of comparison or lot of shopping. But there is a need for the store people to have a very close look at the safety of the items that are displayed in these forms of what you call layouts. Now, how the items are arranged within a particular store. The technique is called as a planogram. So a planogram is a diagram of fixtures and products that illustrates how and where retail products should be displayed, usually on a shelf store. Now let us look at the visual merchandising. So visual merchandising is the physical presentation of products and other items of promotion for, that is presented in that particular store. The purpose of visual merchandising is to attract the customers and motivate impulse purchases. The visual merchandising will create a positive image about the store. So visual merchandising includes the store design, planning, the coloring, the color combinations that are used, the layout of the store, and how the window displaying happens, how is the interior and how is the exterior of that particular store, the signage used within the store and all. Now, there are various types of display elements that can be used. Now, various display areas or display components that can be looked at, or how bulk of stock is displayed. There could be end caps. You can use windows. One can have promotional easels or areas with fixtures, mannequins. Fixtures, mannequins, or gondolas, or the round racks or the elevated racks where all the dresses or items are hanged or kept, which are kept isolated or separate or in the middle of the store. There, a retailer can create lot of point of sales areas where special sales promotions can be displayed. Point of purchase areas or point of sales areas can be created. Checkout area also can be fleshed with a lot of items which usually people don't remember, but they can pick it up at the last moment, like accessories, like it could be safety pins, it could be some type of chocolates or things like that. So the walls can also be used, fixtures, and there could be kiosks used within the area to promote a particular brand or to promote a particular type of merchandise. Then usage of signage and graphics. Lot of signage can be used for to talk about the various merchandise that are carried within the store, to talk about what brand those merchandise belong to and what type of a sales promotional discounts are given over those merchandise. Signage also, the combination of colors and all also talks about the which particular store. In the sense, the external signage will decide, from very far away we can look at the signage and say which store it is. The color combination tells us which store it is. One can use lot of digital signage in terms of LCD screens or LED screens, uh, and highlighters and all, to promote various, products, and to give lot of information to the potential customers who are visiting the store in terms of what type of products can be purchased, when those products can be used, and other things. Then the featured areas like entrances, freestanding displays, then point of purchase counters, the endings of the store, promotional easels, walls, windows, fitting rooms can be specially displayed with a lot of information. Then the location of the merchandise should motivate impulse purchase. So this is a simple example of planogram and how this planogram is implemented in a retail store. So a small map of the store can also be displayed near the entrance for the comfort of the people. So these are the different types of fixtures that can be used within a particular store. These are the gondolas that are used to stock a lot of items or lot of merchandise with specialized temperature control. So the presentations also can be based on ideas, because based on a theme, it could be based on an idea, it could be. Nowadays, if you look at what you call these textile shops and all, each day some color is identified, and all the varieties of the cloths carried in that particular shop or displayed on the mannequins with that particular color idea or with that particular theme. Now let us look at atmospherics. What are these atmospherics? So atmospherics refers to the design of an environment via visual communications, that is sound, uh, you know, uh, visual communications is what we are talking about, what we see in terms of color and lighting, and also audio, that is in terms of music, smell, and any other type of stimulant that motivates the customer to have a very relaxed purchase, at the same time have a positive purchase behavior. Visual communication, as I have just communicated, it includes the use of communication tools like graphics, signs, and other theatrical effects to give a very relaxed environment to the customers in the store, and also to create a positive environment for the customer for purchase. So it includes lighting, color combinations, music, and scent. So this is the combination that can be used by the stores, and we call them as store atmospherics. Lighting is how we highlight the merchandise so that particular merchandise looks very special. The the colors, I think we all know anything that is highlighted, that is big in size, that is very, very dark in color, will be easily will attract our attention. So that is how the color combinations are used. Some colors are appealing and inviting, while some colors take away our mood from the particular work we are doing. So color combinations can be used. A very relaxed music will definitely control the pace of the traffic, in the sense, if these atmospherics are used in a very, very intelligent way by the retailer, we can retain the customers for elongated time periods, for more time period within the store, which will once again increase the impulse purchases by the customers. The Even the scent, the perfume, the smell of it will create a positive impact on the impulse buying, and further it will motivate the customers to spend more time within the outlet, and also will motivate them to buy more items from the store. So I'm stopping the share. These store atmospherics will motivate the customers to enter the shop, and also to spend more time in the shop, and which will further motivate uh, the retailers to stock more merchandise, because when customers spend more time in the shop and they buy more products from the shop, the retailers are more happy, and they may increase the merchandise combination, and definitely it's a win-win situation for both the retailer and the customer. We'll continue in the next class. Thank you, one and all. Have a great day.